Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the IFED Night Talk. The purpose of these interviews is to find out what's behind the person that you might have seen on podiums or around in the congresses and courses. So tonight we have the honor to host Dr. Robert Sader and Christian Haase from Quintessence. So they don't need any presentation, and let's go forward to our questions for them. So, Robert, what is your story? How did you end up doing what you're doing now, today?
Yeah, Andrea, first, thank you very much for invite us tonight, Christian and me, the two men with the short hairs. And yeah, we love it to be here. And yeah, that's a good question. And it's a long way for me, which started when I was at school, of course. My father was a radiologist, so I was always very close to medicine, and I loved to help people, to heal them. On the other hand, I also played violin. Yeah, I was an undergrad student since I was 15. But then when I ended school and the decision came, I didn't like to train violin, to stay in a closed room, yeah, to train 2, 4, 3, 5 hours without any communications. And I love to communicate. And so my decision was clear, going to medicine. And then I had a very special personal event which showed me which would be the best way for me. During my whole studies, I worked as a male nurse in the hospital, in the emergency unit, and once we had a young carpenter there as patient, and he's broken his arm, and he was really sad, and he told me, "Oh my God, I will never can be a carpenter in future, can never do my job, and this would crash my whole life." And then he went to the surgery, and some months later, I met him on the street again. And he recognized me and came to me and said, "Oh, you remember me? I was the young man in the emergency unit and I broke my arm. And the surgeon did an excellent job. Yeah, he made the operation and now he showed me it's like new. And I am so happy I will be a great carpenter." And then for me, it was clear you have to do surgery because surgery is really rehabilitation, yeah, reparation. If you go to internal medicine, for example, yeah, then the doctors give you some pharmaceutics and you have to take them until the end of your life. Yeah, so internal medicine, sorry for saying that, is only compensation, but not rehabilitation. Yeah, and then I started going to surgery. And on the other hand, I only studied philosophy. I also want to interact with the patient, with his personality. And I always looked for some type of surgery which can bring both together. Rehabilitation in the surgery, but also on the other hand, to interact with the identity of the patient. And at the end of my medical studies, I met it in the field of oral maxillofacial surgery, a very fine surgery and of course, very important for the patient, especially regarding aesthetics. Yeah, if you think tumor surgery, what we change there, or orthognathic surgery, where we correct the function, but also then correct the aesthetics to a good way. Yeah, and then I had to study dentistry, yeah, to get the double degree, and therefore I became a maxillofacial surgeon at the end, and I would do the same again when I have to start again.
My story is a little shorter. And first, Robert, we don't have short hair. We have just a big face. We have a lot of face to cover, okay? So my story is very simple. The company Quintessence Publishing is a family company, and we are now in the third generation. So my grandfather started it. My father made it basically to where it is today. And I'm an only child, so that's where I am today. So no, of course, my path was more or less paved for me. If I wanted to take it, I felt obliged to do that, and I followed my father's footsteps. And together with the the need to follow into the family's business also came the passion to do what we're doing today. And if I could choose if I want to do it again or not, maybe I would try something else before, so I can have a different perspective. But anything else, I think I'm very happy where I am, because what we do is great, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, look, since I know very well you and your father, and Robert mentioned this argument, how important is the personal relationship? I mean, you're not a dentist, but still you have personal relationship with all the clinicians that you work with. When I was always impressed by this, your father's ability to create rapport, and yours as well. So, Robert, going back to your question, what do you think? How is this important? Why is this so important, on your opinion?
I think in any shape or form and in any situation in life, it's important to have a personal relationship, whether it's with your peers, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your co-workers. And I think without that, and if you don't get to know the people that you work with or work for or work alongside, it's not the same. So I think a personal relationship is very important, especially because everybody is so different. I cannot treat everybody the same way. I cannot treat my authors exactly the same as I would do with any other people, because one do it, maybe the idea is to become famous. The others want to do it because they want to be rich. The others, they need to be begged to do that because they're very busy with what they're doing, but you need to really follow them around saying, please, 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 please. And the others are saying, here, I'm done. Here, do what you can with it. So these are all different characters, and you need to completely work with them in a different way in order to achieve the best outcome for every single individual.
I see. And Robert, since you started the argument, what do you think? Do you want to go a little bit deeper on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are all individuals, and the art of being a chief, being a head of a department like me or like Christian, is to interact very personally, with everyone, to accept his personal characteristics, his features, to accept his advantages, but also his disadvantages. We all make mistakes,
yes.
And this is we have to accept, we have to live with. And if you bring all together, then I think it's the best way, and it's a very happy way for all sides.
I see. Very interesting, very interesting. Second question, Robert, do you have someone that you consider a reference for you?
Yes, of course. From the professional side, really, it was my former teacher, and Hans-Florian Seilhofer, with whom I worked in Munich for 12 years, and then I followed him to Basel, where he had been the head of the department. A very emotional, logistic man, and I learned really a lot of him. Regarding aesthetic dentistry, of course, first here in Germany, Dieter Reusch, who was the protagonist for me, because he always pointed out that if you want to do a perfect aesthetic treatment, then you also have to have in mind and to take very carefully reason for the function. So don't disturb the function. And a real aesthetic treatment, making a smile, a face harmonic, must be based on the natural function. And then really I had in my life two very important persons I met, and with both I had a very, very nice evening where I learned a lot. This was Ronnie Goldstein in the US and Claude Rufenacht in Switzerland, which really have been my teachers, you can say, for regarding aesthetic dentistry.
I see. And what about you, Christian?
Also here we have a very a little bit more easier answer. Of course, I look up to the work of my father professionally. I'm not a dentist, so I don't have any people that I look up to in terms of my own profession in dentistry. Of course, there's a lot of people that we admire and I admire for whatever they're doing and their personalities. But I think in terms of my job, it's my father. And there's a lot of new economy people that are around that have different ideas. And also, if you look at people like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates and these visionaries, whether they have conflicted personalities or not, but a lot of things you can learn from many different positions where you see these are traits in personalities and also in work that you apply.
I see. Yeah. What personal feature do you think allowed you to get where you are, Christian?
I think I'm aside from the fact that I had no choice but to do what I do, is that I do have an open personality, and I try to keep an open mind. I don't judge people by by the first appearances, so I try to get into know to people, and I very much enjoy what I do, and I like to be creative. I think the creativity is key. And I think also enjoying what you're doing is very important, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's there's a saying, I have to think about it. Maybe by the end of the interview, I'll remember. There's a very good saying that sums it up very well, but it's on the top of my head.
It will come out. And what
Yes.
about you, Robert?
Yes, I think I told you when I was young, I played violin. I started with 5 years and was then an undergraduate student at the Düsseldorf School of Music. I was never a soloist. Yeah, I was for the last 5 years at that time concertmaster, and I really love, to be not that one who is staying on stage, to be the great star, but to organize an orchestra. So bringing out the advantages of each player and try to compensate the disadvantages and problems. And I think this I continued until now. And you have lots of very important dentists in your show. And I saw the last IFED Nights, really wonderful. Thank you for this great idea. And many of them are stars. They like to be a stars, to go on stage. And I'm more the second level star. Not be the guru, but more to organize and to bring the things together and then to build up really a high building.
I see. Robert, what do you think is the most important feature that a successful person has, not necessarily related to dentistry?
I think this is exactly what we talked about, and what also Christians say, is to respect the people, everyone in his personality, try to support his capacities, his positive capacities, and everyone makes the mistakes. So this is normal, and help him, to work with it. And altogether, I think the most important feature you should have is communication. Really to try to communicate with the people on the same level. No try to make a top-down communication, to respect them. And if you see many problems in the world, especially many wars, started based on communication problems. And if we solve this, and if we think more about an excellent communication, and that the other person you communicate with has its opinion, and the reason for its opinion, his reasons maybe are at least the same, maybe better than my reasons. So to understand why he's thinking in that way, I think this is, if you manage this successfully, then you will become a very successful person.
And Christian, what is your opinion on it?
Yeah, it's correct. It's exactly what I said or started to say in the beginning, is that if you keep an open mind, if you show empathy, I think empathy is a trait that is very important to read people, to allow people to open up, allow people to voice their opinion, and not to judge too fast. And I think that's very important. Also, what Robert said is that, don't only accept the good ways, also accept the flaws, or try to work with the flaws, whether they are your own or the opponents. I think one of the things that I think for me that make me a little bit more successful in what I do on my own terms is that if I make mistakes, if things happen that are not so good, I try not to cling to them. So they're in the past, they happened. So just move on and concentrate on what's ahead of you. And I remember the saying is that choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. So I think passion is also very important for your success and also for your communication skills.
Yeah. And on the other side, what do you think is that most people are missing?
What do you mean?
Let's
In
say,
general terms?
yeah, something that you consider important, but you see in the average that is not that common.
I think it's exactly the same thing that we just said, that on one hand, it's very important to have, and it's on the other hand, it's what's also missing for a lot of people is that the lack of communication. So a lot of things, a lot of problems, a lot of misunderstandings happen because people just don't talk about it. The same thing with empathy, with being open. I think that lacks with, I wouldn't say most people, but a lot of people do have an issue with that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard to do, because it's not easy to open up. It's not easy to put yourself aside and listen. So I think communication skills, it's not only talking and listening, it's knowing exactly how to dose it and when to do that. So I think having a trait that it's not easy to use, that's also something that people lack.
And do you think that also the tendency of applying our own rules to others' behaviors is it's a problem? So basically, we tend, as you, Robert, was mentioning, we tend to judge too easily, right?
My way or the highway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think not everyone, of course, there are some lazy people on this planet, but most people, they do their best. Yeah. And what they are missing is the appreciation, what they're doing. Yeah. And even from your personal view, they are not doing a perfect job. It's the best what they can do. Yeah. And you have to appreciate them and then say, oh, excellent, you have done a great job for you. And if you do this, you stimulate them, and then they do the job next time much more better. And I think we have to be more polite and more appreciative to our co-workers.
Thank you. What do you think, Robert, about the comfort zone?
You think mean my personal comfort zone or a comfort zone in general?
In general.
In general, okay. I think sometimes you need a comfort zone. Yeah, if you have too much work and lots of problems, then you need to have some small comfort zone to going back for some relaxing and go down. But in general, I don't like comfort zones. Yeah, because everyone grows with its tasks. Yeah, and every problem makes you stronger if you solve it. Yeah, so even sometimes everyone needs a comfort zone. You have to minimize it, I think, as most as possible.
Christian, I have a guess that I know, but I let you say what you think about the comfort zone.
Well, it's exactly what Robert said, is that the issue is if you remain in the comfort zone, which is very comfortable and much easier than any other things, you will remain in the comfort zone. So you will never be able to move in any other direction or grow. So it's okay for certain things, but I think if you want to grow and if you want to develop yourself, you have to work outside of your comfort zone and more than being in it.
Yeah, and this applies also to the following question that is basically the other side of the coin. Meaning, how important do you think it is to be able to change your opinion, your mind, change your mind? How important is it?
I think it's the main key for good communications and empathy. If you cannot change your ways because or if you when you learn that you might be wrong or there's other ways to do it and you can't accept it and adopt your way of thinking, you're stuck, you're lost. You will never be able to communicate right, and you'll never be able to communicate on a certain level and be competitive. If you're not able to change and learn from your flaws and change your ways, no, this is one of the worst things that you can do.
Yeah. And Robert, especially also in dentistry, there are many people that say, why should I change something that works? Why should I change my protocol? Why should I change material if, for example, it worked very well? It works still very well.
Same thing with the comfort zone here.
Exactly.
Yeah. But this is a problem because then you have no evolution, and no progress if you always think. And I remember one of the most famous German maxillofacial surgeons. He retired. I don't tell his name, and he gave his lecture, his last lecture at the end, to show everything. And he was a star. Yeah. And then one from the audience, he asked him a question, Professor. Now, you showed us what you have done all your life, what you have developed. Now, what will be the next? Will be there any progress after you? And he looked and said, no, you are right. I have solved all problems. And this is absolutely the wrong way. This cannot be. Yeah, you must change. You must have the personality to change your opinion. And this we forgot at the beginning when you asked for the features of a successful person. Yeah, this is also one of the typical characteristics which are absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I agree. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And since I guess it happens sometimes in your life, what do you tell yourself in difficult moments? What is your inner dialogue?
If I have really problems, then I stop my inner dialogue. Then I say, okay, don't make any fast decision. Yeah, go down, cool down, maybe sleep one night over it. Yeah, make some meditation like this. Yeah, and then restart your brain machine to think about it. Was really the problem? And this helped me very often. Yeah, because fast decisions are not always the best one. And if you do some decision which you cannot correct and you've done too fast, then this is really, really bad.
And what about you, Christian?
Well, I agree. Taking a step back and overthinking, it makes a lot of sense here. But also, I think one other thing that we forgot to mention in the beginning is what's also a very important trait. If you have a difficult situation where you're not entirely sure where to go, you have to be able to ask for help. So you'll be able to ask your peers or your mentors to saying, listen, I have this issue. Where do we go on? I think it's very important to have an ear for others and ask others for their opinion so you can manage your own opinions on that. I think always have to have somebody to bounce something back from.
Very nice, very nice.
That's what I do. I actually do call my dad. If I have issues, if I don't know, I'd like to know what he thinks. And then I can then say, is this something that makes sense to me, or do I want to continue the path that I'm already on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Having options.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but it requires, on my opinion, a lot of inner strength to ask, because it's not that easy for many people, but it is the only way. I agree. If you would have a magic wand, Christian, what would you change in your life?
Honestly, not a lot. When I read the questions, to be very honest with you, I would probably say I would have invested 1,000 euros 10 years ago in Bitcoin. That's the only thing that came to mind. Other than that, to be very honest, I am very happy the way we are, the way my family is, our job that we do. We could live without Corona, we could live without the war, certainly, but I think having a magic wand won't change that. at least not for good. But no, that's in Italian you say contento, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what about you, Robert?
I told you how important music was and is for me. Yeah, and really the mistake I made is about 20 years ago when I worked too much, yeah, for my business and reduced my time for music. Yeah, even my wife, she's opera singer. Yeah, and we go to concerts and I support her and I love her, of course. I stopped to play violin for myself because I had no more time. Too much lectures and research projects and everything. And this was a mistake. And now I have to wait until I have more time to start again to play. But I have the mistake was to stop it. Yeah, completely to play for myself.
I think it's very important to have something that you have on a regular basis where you can do something completely different, whether it's sport, whether it's music, whether it's this. And I think it's very important also for your own success and for your own well-being is that you have set times that you put aside to do that. Otherwise, you're going to go nuts and you're going to regret things like Robert said that, I wish I would have. So I think it's very important if you do have a passion aside from your work, try to follow it as much as you can without, obviously without risking your day job. But I think it's very important to have these two things.
Yes, very interesting. We are getting close to the end of this night talk, but before we close, I would like to play a little bit with you, asking a few very fast questions, and you should reply with one word only. So very, very fast, okay? So no thinking, just gut feeling reply, okay? So tech-wise, do you prefer traditional agenda or smartphone?
Smartphone.
Robert?
Smartphone, no question.
Traveling, nature type of travel or city type of travel?
Really both. Yeah.
Christian?
I would say nowadays nature. It used to be cities, but now it's nature.
Okay. Do you prefer to travel by train or by airplane?
Airplane.
I know. Yeah, I know it's not the right time, but I still like to fly.
Yeah, and it's one of the main hobby I kept is to be a private pilot. I love it.
That's right.
Me too. I used to be private pilot as well. I stopped when I went to the US for the program.
I have a bicycle.
Yeah. Cars, sport car versus elegant.
Sport car.
I have both. I drive a Tesla. It's very fast and it's also elegant.
That's good. Watch, Apple Watch versus Rolex.
I have no Rolex. Another nice ear, but here then Apple Watch. And I think the watch will be much more important.
I got you, Christian. You don't have to say anything.
I like both, but it's since men don't wear jewelry, this is nice to have. Yeah, and it's something that you can give your son.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brain. Do you think you are more analytical or more artistic?
Me, I'm absolutely more analytical. My wife is completely the opposite, artistic. I am the analytical one.
Nice, interesting. Christian?
I probably would like to say analytic, but I think I'm a very artistic, emotional, brain-wise.
Good. Kindle versus paper book.
That's absolutely clear for me. Paper book. Paper book, yeah, to take it in the hand and look for the pages. And I think one big problem of digitalization is that we lose the haptic feeling. And this is very, very important for dentists. It's clear, but also for your brain and for your thinking.
Yeah. I know.
It's, as when we are babies, the first thing we learn is tactile functions. We learn how to feel textures and forms. And the first thing that I do when I get a new book, I open it up and I smell it.
Yes.
It's just...
It's a unique smell.
it's a unique smell, and as long as we still have paper, which is going to be an issue pretty soon, but books.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
asking you, Christian, the question is quite
Listen,
ridiculous.
if we would do Kindle, I would make a lot of money because I'm saving a lot of money.
Yes,
but it's not.
yes.
It's not
the
the
same.
same thing.
And you know, by the way, it's basically a scene. I know that. But when I have a paper book, I start writing notes, underline it. I basically destroy the book. I put all my thinking, all my ideas. I write whatever I like. I circle. It's basically I destroy it. I know it's a sin, but I love
No,
to do
it's
it.
not. It's honestly, I like this better because I know if people do that, they actually work with the book. They only don't buy it just to look at my nice pictures and put it into the shelf, but they work with it. Many people I know, there's post-its all over, there's notes on it, and sometimes
I'm one of them.
sometimes we have people coming to the stand and said, "Listen, I need another copy because mine is completely worn out. I cannot. It's falling apart. I need a new one." But that's nice.
I see. Regarding retirement, this is a hot topic nowadays. Do you think you will work forever, or do you have a retirement plan with your family?
I think if I may go first, I think with the already existing work-life balance issue that we all have, I think it's very important to find a clear cut in order to enjoy the time with the family. I'm very young still, so I have time to do that, but I think it's important to do before it's too late.
Exactly. Well, you have to plan it since the beginning, otherwise you won't do it. Robert?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. The question is only when will the cut be, or when shall it be? I think much more or sometime after retirement, not at the same time. For me, we will see.
I think the moment somebody comes around that will do your job better than you, you should be able to say, "Here you go."
Yeah.
Whether it's your own family or somebody else.
Very interesting. Listen,
yeah. And the
as
best
always,
is if it will be a scholar, a pupil of yourself.
Yeah.
This will be the best.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, as always, as all the interviews that I hosted, it has been a huge pleasure and a huge learning experience for myself, and I'm sure for all the people that will follow our night talks. So I thank you very much, Robert, for sharing your time and your feelings with us. Thank you, Christian. I look forward to see you next week in Bordeaux.
Yes.
And I invite you to follow again our next night talk next month. Stay with us and maybe see you in Abu Dhabi. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.